All right, we are Africa First, and this is News Central. Now, we're asking you to follow us on all socials. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook at News Central TV, and our website is www.newscentral.africa. Now, let's start off the day by checking out what the stories are on the front pages of the papers. And we're starting the papers this morning in West Africa, Nigeria. We're looking at the Guardian newspaper this morning, where it says fresh battles rage for soul of PDP, APC, all ahead of the 2023 election. That's one of the major stories we have here from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Also, you will see the picture of people. These are young women with some animals, and they're obviously going to fetch some water for their homes. We are still in this state in some parts of Nigeria. More details on that from the Guardian newspaper. Another story that says poor, not rich, benefit from fuel subsidy. Economists counter federal government. You see more of that from the Guardian in West Africa, Nigeria.
All right, let's segue to the eastern part of Africa with Uganda's Daily Monitor paper this morning to see what they have, and all about President Museveni. It says details of Kabaka Museveni meeting yesterday. So that's President Museveni on the right. Well, it was reported to have expressly ordered the Ministry of Finance to expedite payments of about 215 billion shillings that the government owes Mengo during the rare meeting between the two principals. So there you have it on the front page. Also, at the top left of the front page of the Daily Monitor, it talks about homes and things no one tells you about to do with yourself projects. Basically DIY, as they say. So all of that on the front page of the Daily Monitor. But Yoweri Museveni, once again, is the big news there.
All right, from Uganda, we're moving to Liberia. It's all about the front page newspaper. The front page newspaper has quite a lot. You can see the pictures of protesters all over the country of Liberia. But before that, we have this story that says imminent shutdown of businesses. Why are businesses going to shut down? More details from the front page of the Liberian paper. Now, this picture you have here are different protesters. The main header here says, "We want justice." This is a serious protest here as citizens stage mass protest and demand of justice against police brutalities that allegedly left a truck conductor dead. Quite a sad one, and the people of Liberia are tired of the brutalities. But all of that and more from the front page of the Liberian paper.
All right, we can go down south to the Sowetan in South Africa to see what they have for us this morning. All about the big party. ANC says how ANC chose its Josie mayor. That's Johannesburg. Says the party puts one eye on upcoming elections as a winner of race for the chain will lead electioneering for municipal poll. It says Women's League cries out. So you can have the pictures of the front page runners there in this electioneering process. Also at the top left, that's a popular man. Piso Mosimane, he's on the front page, says not chasing Chiefs star. And also want to talk about sports and a popular figure, broadcaster Robert Marawa on the front page. It says SABC blasts Safa over Robert Marawa's case. More of that on the front page of the Sowetan. And there you have it on the front pages.
All right, away from the front pages, it is now time for us to bring you the top stories on Breakfast Central. Up next. And we start in South Africa, where the country believes that it is well on its way to reach its vaccination milestones after it received 2 tranches of vaccine from the United States this week. Now, the first tranche of 2.8 million Pfizer vaccine arrived in the country on Sunday, and last night an additional 5.6 million doses was expected to arrive.
Now, the vaccines are a donation from the United States government, who says it will strengthen the health partnership between the two countries. Now, the donation comes in the middle of the country's mass vaccination campaign, and it's experiencing its third wave of coronavirus cases. Now, joining us this morning on Breakfast to break this down is Mia Mala, the editor of Bekisisa Center of Health Journalism in South Africa, to shed more light. She joins us all the way from Johannesburg this morning. Mia, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us, Mia. Now tell us about this donation. How bad was the need for this vaccine? I mean, was there even a need in the first place? How do these vaccines, I beg your pardon, even help?
So we definitely came at a very good time for South Africa. We used two vaccines in South Africa, Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. And these doses from America are Pfizer doses. Now they're 5.6 million doses. To give you an idea, when we receive our weekly batches of Pfizer, we're lucky if we get 1.5 million doses because we really struggle to get hold of enough to buy. So this 5.6 million comes to about a month of supplies for South Africa, and it came at a time last week. We ran out of vaccines because South Africa has geared up. We have more people coming for vaccines. We've got many more sites, but we didn't have enough vaccines to accommodate the pace that we increased. So it definitely came at a very good time for us. And our goal for August in South Africa is to administer 7 million doses of vaccines this month, and 5.6 million of those is donated by the United States, so it really helps us to reach our goal.
All right, so it's a Pfizer-BioNTech donation from the U.S. government, and it's said that this donation has no strings attached. Now, is that really the case here with this donation? Is it just a goodwill donation in the face of vaccine inequity coming from the United States?
So as you've mentioned, the United States is on the record of saying it comes with no strings attached, but we know that diplomatic relations work in a certain way. So all donations in the end comes with buying a little bit of goodwill from the recipient, regardless of what they are. But I certainly don't think there's any formal agreement or formal expectation of South Africa in return for this. But if we look at it in a broader sense, I think there are other goals for this donation as well. And the one is science. I think the Biden administration compared to the previous Trump administration is far more acknowledging of evidence-based measures. Now, within the context of vaccine inequity, America also benefits from addressing that because, as we know, until everyone is safe, no one is safe, because if Africa still doesn't have enough vaccines, variants that could make vaccines work less well can spread, and those variants are in the end gonna also end up in America and make it hard for them to deal with the epidemic. But I think also it's important to the US government, with the Biden administration, has a very different way of looking at the world and where America fits into that. And part of that, obviously more progressive than the Trump administration, and part of that philosophy is to also acknowledge that you need to share things sometimes, and I think that also fits into that broader new policy and way of looking at the world of the Biden administration that fits into it.
Right. Now, talking about goals, it seems South Africa is getting closer to the set goals as the country has made considerable gains in terms of the number of vaccines administered. Now, why do you think this is the case?
So to be able to make progress with a vaccination campaign, you really need two things. You need the infrastructure and the sites and the people, the vaccinators who can do the work, and you need enough vaccines. So one advantage for South Africa within the context of Africa is that we are able to buy vaccines directly from companies. In this case, we're doing it from Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson. So many African countries are reliant on COVAX only, the international procurement mechanism, and those are the only vaccines that they can get. But we are in the fortunate position that we can also afford to have bilateral deals with companies, so that helps us to procure vaccines. We did start very late. The country wasn't happy with the government starting a bit late with bilateral deals, but once we got going with that, I think there is a political commitment from our government that shows that we want to procure enough vaccines. I think the other thing is that there has been a considerable amount of collaboration between the private and the public sector to get the vaccination campaign going. So to give you an idea, for instance, we've got many privately run sites in the country. The government is the only one that can procure the vaccines, but when it comes to rolling it out, there are private sites. But those private sites also accommodate public patients, so people without medical insurance. And I think that helps us to speed up the space. And there's also been quite a bit of business investment in South Africa into this campaign. So in that sense, I think it helps us to run it, to run our campaign and to make it run faster. The other thing that I think we lately did that is a good thing to help it speed up is we opened it up for younger age groups as well. There's only one more age group in the country that it needs to be opened up 4. It's people between 18 and 34, and that will happen on the 1st of September. So when the government saw that people of 60 and above didn't come for vaccinations quickly enough, it moved and it opened it up for other age groups as well. And that also helped to get more of the 60 plus people to come, because children tend to take their parents then with them for vaccination. So I think a combination of those things have helped us to speed up the campaign.
Right, Mia, but despite these, upturn in numbers, there is still a bit of, vaccine hesitancy. What are your observations about this? And do you think the government is doing enough to change this stance?
So vaccine hesitancy doesn't seem to be as big a problem in South Africa as compared to, for instance, in the United States, say conservative states where people don't want to go for vaccinations. But as you've said, surveys do show us that there's between a third and 40% of South Africans who are wondering would they get vaccinated. It doesn't mean they wouldn't, but they're not exactly sure. Now, there's been quite a big survey in South Africa that came out, a survey that showed us that there were like about 30% of South Africans who were wondering about this. But the same survey told us that they asked people what would be the one thing that convinces you the most if you're not sure you're going to go for a vaccination, that would convince you to go. And people said that a community leader is what would convince them the most. So if a community leader goes for a vaccination and there's nothing strange happens to them afterwards, so those fears of side effects or bad side effects, if they see that person stay healthy afterwards, then they would really consider going for a vaccine. Now, in our country, there's one province in the north of South Africa, Limpopo, that has been doing really well with vaccinations. And the reason researchers think they've been doing well is because they've been using community leaders, church leaders and traditional leaders to get people to go and get vaccinated. So that is a strategy that will help us to counter vaccine hesitancy in other provinces, and the government would really need to go and to use that. The one thing where they can do really better is there's not a lot of literature that goes out in communities produced by the government in local languages, and we really do need to improve on that. And also, now that we have rolled out vaccines and they're going out quite widely, there's obviously going to appear some severe side effects at some stage, because some vaccines, even though they're very, very rare, that happens. And our regulator is investigating deaths that happened after vaccines. They're not necessarily relating to the vaccines, but they're investigating, and how they communicate it would be important.
All right. Thank you so much, Mia Mala, really breaking down the situation as vaccinations really turn an upturn in South Africa. Mia Mala, editor of the Bekesisa Center for Health Journalism in South Africa, joining us live from Joburg. Thank you once again for your time, Mia. Right. More top stories right here on Breakfast Central. Right, from South Africa, we head to Nigeria, where 3 more abducted students of the Bethel Baptist Secondary School in Kaduna State have been found. Now, the 3 students, all male, were found by troops at the Kankumi Forest General Area of Chikun local government area, where they were abandoned by the abductors.
Now, although the police or school management are yet to confirm the development, reports say that the 3 students had escaped from the bandits after being kidnapped from the school on the 8th of July. Now, the bandits were said to have renegotiated and collected a ransom from the parents of the 3 students, after which they were dumped inside the forest before they were found by the troops.
All right, so that's the latest in Kaduna State, which many have begun to say that they're turning into the kidnap capital of the world, not just in Nigeria, which is a huge slap.
And a lot of people are asking them that the state or the state governor declare state of emergency in the state. Now, let's not forget that the state governor came out and said he would not pay ransom even if his own child were to be kidnapped by any of these bandits. And when the abductors were negotiating with the parents, at some point the parents were told to donate 500,000 naira for each of the child. Now, if you multiply 500,000 times the number of children that were kidnapped, we're talking about over 150 million naira. Now, some reports allegedly say that a sum of about 65 million naira was paid just to secure the release of these children. But these are alleged reports.
Yeah, and now we have 3 students, all male, just like we reported in Kaduna, have been found in a forest after they were abducted and now abandoned. So it's been reported about ransom being paid and donations being made. So the big question is, now that they have come out, the bandits, clearly, it looks profitable for the bandits, so to speak, that this is really ongoing, especially in Kaduna State, despite the disagreement by Governor El Rufai saying that ransom should not be paid whatsoever. But that's just lip service, because underneath, we report so many cases of people being freed. In buses they come, you hear about the parents saying the government has done nothing to help them, which means the coalition of parents who somehow put money together, and we're talking about millions of naira to get their children out. When does it all stop is the big question right now, especially in the northwestern state of Kaduna. It is quite a huge one when they say Kaduna is now the kidnap capital of the world, or Nigeria is now the kidnap capital of the world, not Mexico, not Guadalajara or somewhere in South America.
I mean, but Olisa, that shouldn't surprise you when you get reports like 10 institutions in Kaduna have been hit by kidnappers, and over 1,000 students have been kidnapped since December of 2020 to this present day, August 2021. I mean, when we get statistics like this, when we get reports like this, it's not a surprise that it takes that award. It might not be a good award, but it is an award that should be thoroughly looked into.
Quite a disturbing name tag. Right, still more to come right here on Breakfast Central. You're still watching Breakfast Central on a Wednesday. Let's take you to Tunisia, where President Kais Saied has dismissed finance and technological ministers of the cabinet of the outing Prime Minister Hichem Echichi as the continues to purge top-level state incursions. Now, according to a statement from the presidential office, Minister of Economy and Finance Investment Support, that's in the name of Ali Kuli, he's been replaced by Sihem Bugdiri, a senior official at the ministry, while Minister of Communication Technologies, that's Mohamed Fadel Karem, was replaced by Nizar Ben Neji, a communication expert and the project lead at the National Agency for Electronic Certification.
Now, Koli and Karem are the second and third cabinet members to be fired by the president, who sacked Mechichi late last month as part of an unprecedented move that saw him seizing the executive power and suspending the parliament. Now, the president also late last week appointed a new head of the Interior Ministry, which was also led by Mechichi.
Right, so we have our correspondent Abdinor Arden returning to breakfast this morning to give us the latest out there. Well, Abdin, good morning. Welcome to you. First, it was the firing of Prime Minister Mechichi and dissolving Parliament for 30 days, and now his new ministers being sworn in. What is really fueling the uncertainty in Tunisia?
Thank you so much, Olu and Oli. And to start with, President Kais, what he has done is he has appointed interim members of the cabinet, because the Tunisian constitution limits those powers to the prime minister. And as it is currently, the prime minister isn't in place. Therefore, the only persons he has appointed are interim ministers for now. And before I look at the profiles of both newly appointed ministers, I think it's a decision that is continuing to receive opposition, especially from the leading Ennahda party, which has the majority in parliament. And we expect more reactions in the coming days.
Right. Now, Abdinor, what do you think is making the president take such drastic action in terms of sacking key government figures in the country at a time like this, when Tunisia is going through peculiar situation?
Well, if we look at the appointment of the new interim minister for finance, the first thing is the Tunisian government is currently facing a lot of inflation, also owing to tax evasion in the country. And in the last few days, the former minister for finance has been based in Washington trying to seek some borrowing in order to try and salvage the situation. But now he has been replaced by Bugdiri Nemsia, who, according to her profile, has experience in dealing with IMF and other international bodies. So the country has been trying to seek some money from the donors in order to try and contribute to the economy. And as we speak, the amount is stated to be $4 billion loan from the IMF.
All right, you just mentioned herself, Nemsia Bugdiri. Let's quickly look at the work history of the new Minister of Finance, Shihem Bugdiri Nemsia. I will give you a rundown of her profile and what she's done, and perhaps how supported she will be out there in Parliament now for Tunisia. She's an economics and tax specialist. She spent 28-year career at the Ministry of Finance. She's no stranger in Parliament, in the cabinet. She's also experienced in dealing with IMF and other international bodies, just like you said there, Arden, and served as the Director General of Tax Studies and Legislation, the body that develops tax policy for the country.
All right. Now, Abdinal, she will step into the role of a time of great economic uncertainty as Tunisia faces rising inflation, a devalued currency, and record unemployment. How well do you think she will perform on this role, going by records we just saw?
I mean, this is not a new trend, especially in Tunisia and many developing countries, trying to bring in an experienced person in dealing with international financial bodies and as well as local experience in revenue location. But the key issue is the country is also suffering from the COVID-19 pandemic, where the response to vaccination campaign is really low. A percentage less than 20% have already taken the vaccine for the first time, and some have taken the double. Therefore, COVID-19 pandemic coupled with the political uncertainty, many people are waiting for the 30 days. Investors are really worried. We've also had countries such as Turkey and Qatar and many others who were previously long allies of Tunisia raising concerns over the democratic, what they call the interference of the democratic process, knowing that Tunisia is one of the successful outcomes of the Arab Spring at that time. Therefore, the other issue is there might be concern about the new interim minister for technology because of his experience in holding many data, especially in issues related to the National Agency for Electronic Certification, being a university lecturer, and so on and so forth. Therefore, the president's rushing in appointing the interim finance minister and interim minister for technology might be giving us a clue of what next in Tunisia.
Yes, and that brings me to my main question. The ministers appointed by the president will serve on interim basis, as only the prime minister, who we don't have now, can appoint cabinet chiefs. And Mr. Said has said that he will install a new head of government or perhaps a new prime minister. So how soon do we get that new announcement, new prime minister from President Kais Saied?
Well, already 10 of those 30 days have lapsed. 20 days are left, but the key issue here is not the 20 days. It's actually who is the front runner to take that prime minister position. We've had the Speaker of Parliament, who's been having a lot of influence. He's Rachid Ghannouchi. He's unable to access his office. We know other influential leaders in the country have been silent, considering the current situation. The military and the security are the ones currently helping the president control power in the country. Therefore, the successor for Prime Minister who's been removed, Hichem Machichi, is the choice that people are really waiting to hear. And it's not about when he will announce, but it is who, in order to win the hearts and minds of the Tunisians who are divided in between supporting the president's decision and supporting democracy in the country.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Abdinal Aden, our East African correspondent, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you to you too, and enjoy the rest of the program.
All right.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Still coming back to West Africa, Nigeria, where the country's national primary healthcare development agency has inspected about 4,080,000 Moderna vaccine doses that recently arrived in the country on the 1st of August.
Now, during the inspection of the vaccines donated by the United States government at the National Strategic Cold Store in Abuja, the agency says effective vaccination management is necessary in the battle against the third wave of infections. Now, our correspondent, Idong Joseph, tells us more.
About 4 million doses of Moderna vaccines recently arrived to Nigeria from the United States of America. This donation is the product of a partnership between the African Vaccine Acquisition Trust, AVAT, COVAX, and the United States government. Though Nigeria received about 3.9 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca in March to kickstart its vaccination drive, The World Health Organization has assured Nigeria's government that the Moderna vaccines are also safe for use.
The vaccine is highly effective, so more over 94%. So the advice would be to continue to get vaccinated. The vaccine is quite good, and then the monitoring system will still be effective, will still be around just to monitor any adverse effect if there is any.
Nigeria's Primary Healthcare Development Agency, during an inspection at the nation's vaccine facility in Abuja, disclosed that government had earlier acquired additional ultra-cold freezers to accommodate the Moderna and other vaccines being expected.
The Presidential Steering Committee and the Federal Ministry of Health procured 60 ultra-cold equipment way ahead of when we heard about the donation. So the partnership was already prepared, knowing that ultimately we will get vaccines that will require these types of environments.
The agency, while assuring of government's commitment to scale up vaccination in the country, says it is waiting for an evaluation of the vaccines by the nation's Food and Drug Agency so it can commence another vaccination campaign.
Once NAFDAC says we are good to go, we've already laid out a very comprehensive logistic deployment plan, working with CACOVID to make sure that these vaccines get to the subnational level as soon as possible. This is particularly important because we're already experiencing a third wave and there's no need for the vaccines to be at national level while they are needed with our citizens. So we're going to be rolling out immediately after we get clearance from NAFDAC.
As soon as the vaccines are cleared, they will go straight to the states where there is enough capacity and enough storage to accommodate them for quick use. What we would say is that the quicker these are used, the better, because then the next round can come in and be used effectively as well.
From Abuja, Idong Joseph, News Central Television.
Right, thank you very much, our correspondent in Abuja, Idong Joseph, for that one. Now, just in case you just tuned in, you're watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Let's quickly have a recap of our top stories so far today on the program. We talked about Tunisia's president naming new ministers in the country.
And we also talked about more vaccine as it arrives South Africa from the United States.
Also in Nigeria, 3 abducted students found in Kaduna. And coming up next on Breakfast Central.
All about COVID-19 updates right here on the program.
Plus, Tokyo Olympics Day 11 updates, medals, especially for Africa.
And entertainment, Whiskey's Essence clocks 59 on Billboard chart.
You are still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Now, don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at News Central TV on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're outside Nigeria, tweet us at News Central TV on Twitter. All right.
Now, as the continent continues to battle the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, there seems to be good news coming from some countries in terms of vaccines and vaccinations. Now, to give us the latest COVID-19 update and figures, we have Iferobo Israel right here. Good morning, Efe.
Good morning, Oluchi. Good to be here again. Yes, indeed, good news coming through from some parts of the continent as we head back now to Nigeria. Earlier on, you saw that report that the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency inspecting vaccines donated by the United States. 4 million. That should suffice for all Nigerians waiting to get the second dose of the vaccines. Well, Nigerians are also being strongly advised at this time to strictly adhere to COVID-19 safety protocols to reduce the rising cases of the virus in the country. Now, with an average of 6 deaths recorded daily in the last 1 week, making a total of 42 casualties, Lagos appears to be back as the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria. Nigeria has recorded a total of 174,315 COVID cases from more than 2.5 million samples tested. There are over 7,000 active cases and more than 2,000 deaths. Well, Ijoma Isek has got this report. It is presented from our studios. Take a look.
Amid the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic, the federal government of Nigeria has threatened to impose severe restrictive measures in the wake of the upsurge in cases of COVID-19. The Presidential Steering Committee, PSC, says Lagos now accounts for over 50% of cases, closely followed by Akwa Ibom State. According to the committee, the world has added about 4 million cases and under 100,000 deaths in the last 1 week. A larger number of countries in the West African region are beginning to see the third wave, while Nigeria has been recording about 500 cases daily in the last 7 days. The PSC is particularly concerned about Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Rivers, FCT and Plateau states as the Delta variant worms its way into these states and now accounts for the rise in cases across the nation.
For the avoidance of doubt, the virus is very potent and people still get infected. It is also a fact that the vaccination process has only just begun. It has been reported that some countries are recording a third wave of cases. We urge all Nigerians to recognize that we are not yet out of the woods. Therefore, the Presidential Task Force shall continue to emphasize and promote the strict adherence to the MPIs.
Lagos alone accounts for over 50% of the number of cases. This development calls for great caution because the virus is very virulent and raging in so many other countries.
A significant risk in South Africa and in many of the other countries seeing a resurgence of cases at the moment is being driven by a new variant, now classified as the Delta variant, which, as you know, was first discovered in India. Many of the cases in South Africa are now ascribed to be caused by this variant.
In the course of managing COVID-19, we have seen, unfortunately, about 319 fatality in Lagos, and over 5,000 have also been admitted at our various isolation centers in Lagos. Of that fatality, we've seen about 30 that has happened within the beginning of this third wave. Essentially, we have recorded an average of 6 deaths per day in the last 1 week.
With the latest publication of nationwide figures, if COVID-19 protocols are not strictly adhered to, more and more people could be at risk of getting infected, with Nigeria probably heading towards another lockdown.
Well, there you go. Many thanks there to Ijoma Isek for that special report on how the pandemic is happening here in Lagos, southwest Nigeria. Before we go, let's quickly let you know that Botswana's President Mogweti Masisi is asking for assistance from the U.S. If they will be selling the vaccines or donations, they should go ahead and help the country. So the figures now, according to the Africa Center for Disease Control, indeed, the region has recorded over 6.7 million cases with 172,000 deaths. Over 5.9 million people have recovered as over 60 million tests have been conducted so far. Well, that would be the update on the pandemic on the continent at this point in time. But wanted to note that indeed Lagos State, indeed Nigeria, has received another batch of vaccines. Hopefully this will help even as the virulent Delta wave spreads.
All right, Israel. So Lagos, states like also Plateau, Akwa Ibom, just like we heard in that report, looks like where the Delta variant might be wreaking its head. So perhaps, yes, it's good news to have these new vaccines coming in, but are we looking at perhaps another lockdown or stricter measures put by the government?
Indeed, that is something that we do not want to see. Lagosians don't want to see that. Nigerians do not want to see experience another lockdown. But indeed, if we do not want to see that happening, it means we should practice and maintain physical and social distancing, wearing a face mask. These things need to be put into considerations if and indeed the country will experience another lockdown. Olisa?
All right, thank you very much, Israel Eferebo, for the latest when it comes to the latest of COVID-19 updates. Well, also starting on Thursday, 5th of August, that is tomorrow, the Breakfast Crew is asking you to identify our anchors by simply going on our Instagram page and dropping a comment on a post.
Now, a post and a question on Instagram will be asked at exactly 11 a.m. West African time on our handle at News Central TV. And all you need to do is drop your comments below. Now, the fastest comment with the correct answers get a weekend recharge treat from us right here on Breakfast Central. Now, this is only open to our viewers in Nigeria. No vex, I beg. Let's see how well you watch your favorite shows on News Central. Remember, 11 a.m. August the 5th, 2021, that is tomorrow, on our Instagram handle at News Central TV. Once again, the correct and fastest comment wins.
Right, still more to come right here on Breakfast Central. Yes, for some time now, we have seen some religious leaders make comments regarding the state of the nation. But on our Who Said What segment today is one that says, what some might dread to talk about. Have a look.
I repeat, if there's any money you have in this church now that you want to invest into this church, I'm not saying you should not follow the kingdom of God first, but plan for your life, plan for your family. The money you're supposed to give to the church now, bring it together, go invest in property. If you buy a land now for 5 million, in the next 10 years, maybe you're going to sell it for 50 million. Because the pastor will not remind you or ask you if you have planned for your future. At one point in time, if you are too poor, you will leave the church, another person will come. Nobody will ask after you. Oh, you don't like what I'm saying this morning, but I don't want everybody to like what I'm saying. I just want to tell you the truth. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay your tithe. I'm not saying you shouldn't give money to the church. I'm not saying you shouldn't bless your pastor. I'm not saying you shouldn't bless the wife of your pastor or the children of your pastor. But be wise. Be wise. If you have 10 million now, instead of you forming in the church so that they will call you a rich man, plan your life, plan for your family. Invest.
All right, so that is a popular pastor of what church again?
Genesis Global. This is in Alakoko, right here in Lagos State. It's a white garment church, and he was just coming out telling people that, look, rather than come to church and flaunt your wealth and show people that you're a rich man, you need to think ahead of the future. You need to invest in something, even if it's to buy property. I mean, any property you buy today will appreciate in some years to come.
So he's saying don't bring the money to his...
Not just... He wasn't saying do not pay tithes. I mean, clearly, he did not forget to meet. He just came out to say, plan for yourself, because these pastors will not ask you for your own personal plan, and whatever money you drop in church today will only remember for that day. 10 years time, the pastor.
So that video from that, I believe Sunday service has been making the rounds, right? And that's what we brought to you on Who Said What. Right, we've got our entertainment plug, Sam Daniel. I wonder if he has any assets that he's not willing to donate to the church. That's if he actually attends in the first place. But no pun intended. Sam, morning to you.
Morning. I'm just surprised that the congregation was not smiling. I'm like, smile, it's a good service, okay?
Right. All right. So Sam, what's the latest update you have from your decks?
I will tell you that in a bit, right? So, of course, we can start in West Africa, right? I like to start in West Africa. Now, what happens is African himself, Ghanaian rapper Sarkodie, has finally responded to statements made by the civil society organization demanding an apology for his recent smoking of cigar in the public. Now, 2 weeks ago, right, the 36-year-old rapper himself shared pictures on social media, right? He was smoking, and that for some reason got some, negative press. Now, Sarkodie, in the recent interview, explained, and I quote, "Any form of smoking is not good for your health, but," and I quote again, "what cigar represents in my world of entertainment is celebrating success and achievements." Now, the rapper further added that this organization could have approached him to join them in a campaign against smoking, but rather they expect an apology. He then said, "I understand they're doing their job," right? And I quote again, "I should apologize to who? There are a lot of people who have done worse, but I am the only one they seem to single out." Now, of course, Sarkodie, who just dropped his 6th studio album, No Pressure, just 4 days ago, has in fact just bagged himself a deal with Sony Music Publishing House UK. And a big congratulations to him, to be honest. He's doing great for himself, irrespective of the bad press. Irrespective of all the bad press.
Okay, so a body is criticizing Sarkodie, telling him to apologize for smoking in public.
For doing that. In fact, it wasn't just public, it was social media. So it was pictures, it was looking all fly, and then yes, he was
But he smokes in music videos, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't he?
I don't know why they're just surprised, to be honest.
Well, I think they're trying to tell people that, I mean, he's a role model, and him
right.
coming out with a stick of cigar is showing an example of encouraging
what's the difference between your picture, and I'm not making any excuses for smoking. If you choose to smoke, it's a choice. What's the difference between smoking on your music video and, you can do a full music video just smoking a cigar, and the difference in just posting on Instagram? I'm not sure.
I mean,
so which one do you apologize for?
Well, for me, it's not all about the apology. It's all about letting people understand that smoking could cause a lot of damages. I mean, the United States, you have over 480,000 death-related cases.
These artists carry huge cigars on their music videos with flashing money, and nobody else.
Nobody else, right?
Okay, that's my case here. I'm just confused.
Let's go on. Right, so in fact, I must say, you can't be in the show business without a little bad press, in fact, if I say that. Well, let's go to still in West Africa. We're going to Nigeria now, where singer Bella Shmurda has just been sued for copyright infringement and the breach of contract by One World Global record label. Now, the 24-year-old youngster is reported to have a subsisting contract with the said label due to expire in 2022, and has, contrary to the provisions of this contract, engaged in, released, published, in fact, promoted a couple of songs and videos without the consent and authorization of the label. The label even goes to say that, even as far as announcing that he has been signed to another label called Dangbana Republic. Now, the label further claims ownership of the trademark to the name itself, Bella Shmurda, as well as the copyright in all the musical works and recordings released under or in connection with the name. Now, the label also, has sought for order of court restraining the singer from laying claim to the name and performing the musical works released under or in connection with the name. Now, the label has also asked for a sum of 200 million naira in damages for the singer's breach of contract. Now, Bella Shmurda is yet to respond to any of these allegations against himself. In fact, he just released a song 2 weeks ago, Party Next Door, and this is a song in collaboration with the said new label, Dangbana Republic. I'm just lost, but it's a good song.
All right. Okay, a bit of bad press for...
I got the party next door. I want to take the next one. Do you have any options? Join me and come. Yeah, this is the time of our life. I hope you're feeling alive. Life is just one chance. I hope you got some time. You're free to join me to party.
I do hope that he sorts that out. But let's move on to some rather celebratory news, right? As Wizkid's song Essence has yet again climbed up on the Billboard's Top 100 charts. Now, week after week, we've seen and monitored as the track has scaled up. Now, this time it's almost at the top 50 mark. The song Essence, of course, was released off Wizkid's fourth studio album titled Made in Lagos. And now this particular song is featuring 26-year-old Nigerian singer Tems, and is certainly becoming one of the star's most internationally recognized track on that album list. Now sitting at number 59 on Billboard's Top 100 and number 1 for 3 weeks on the World Digital Song Sales charts. It's much accolades, in fact, for the two singers, Wizkid and Tems, who are both signed to the same label. Now, in fact, I don't think we can get tired of listening to this song. From 82 to 79, now, in fact, 67 a week ago, now 59. I'm proud. I'm super proud to be Nigerian.
It's climbing. That's the essence of it.
Nice one, Alyssa. All right, thank you so much, Sam Dandy, for the entertainment update. Such a delight to have in the program. Some programs that are coming up later today on News Central.
Business Edge at 11 a.m. You don't want to miss it.
And at 7 p.m. West African time, we have Village Square Africa.
Plus, a huge roundup of everything news on Africa with NC Continental Prime at 9 p.m. Right, so that's it. Really excited about the races this morning, especially that one by Sidney McLaughlin. 400 meters world record gold. Impressive, especially when you're coming from the rear. As they say, it's not who first starts early, it's who finishes.
That determines.
Yeah.
All right, that's all we have here. On behalf of myself and Elisa and the production team, we're wishing you a very lovely day.
Have a great Wednesday, all the single ladies.
All the single ladies.